Fred Crawford. I come from Chearsley. I should remember my granddad, who I never met and never knew. He was killed in the First World War at the age of 29 in 1916, leaving my dad and his younger brother. So I should be thinking about him. I think about him not just on Remembrance Day, but I should also be thinking about him the rest of the year.
I'm remembering my grandfather. He was First World War. He lived in Newcastle, and we had very happy times discussing everything, and all his memories. I just hold them forever, and with fond thoughts and love always to him.
I'm Linda. I'm from Aylesbury, and on Remembrance Day, I'll be remembering not so much World War I, but II. My father fought, and he was Canadian, and he came here in the UK to fight for Britain. So I'll be remembering him.
Hello, I'm Anne, and I'm from Aylesbury too. I was fortunate that none of my family served in the war, in World War II anyway. I don't know about one. So I'll just remember all those who did serve in the war for our country.
I'm Eddie Banks. I'm from Belfast, Northern Ireland. I'll be remembering my granddad. He was in the early part of the Royal Air Force, and he shot down in some plane or other. Then landed beside the plane and said, "You're my prisoner." To which the German man said, "No, you're my prisoner." And they had a battle kind of with the guns. Eventually the German gave up. He said, "Okay, fair enough. I can be your prisoner then." That evening he came back to the NAFE, and when he took his flying suit off, he found a bullet inside his flying suit. The bullet had hit him in the leg, gone up his flying boots, and into his flying jacket. So it should have been dead really, so I should remember him.
Amy, and I live in High Wycombe, and I'll be remembering mainly my granddad, but obviously all of the men and women that were part of it all.
I'm Jane, and I live in a local village called Sydenham, and on this special day I remember both my parents, but especially my father, who also he was in the war. So just remembering all the people what lost their lives really.
David, born and brought up in Belfast, and my uncle James died just after the end of the First World War. He was gassed in the trenches. Where exactly I don't know, because I'm still trying to find out. He was a Highlander. As much as I know.
I don't know much about it, but my mother said that one of her brothers, she was one of 8 children, one of her brothers died in the First World War, but nobody seems to know a lot of details. And like a lot of people, I never asked, and you wish you had. I did have 2 uncles in the Second World War, but they both survived and both led full healthy lives afterwards, and they both had a lot of adventures.
Bernie Merritt, I live in Marston, who will be remembering on Remembrance Day. Well, my brother-in-laws, my brothers, all their families. There's quite a few people to remember really, isn't there?
My name is Pauline Woods. I live at Long Crendon, and I'll remember one of my uncles who actually came through the First World War unscathed, but the following year succumbed to Spanish flu. I visited his grave last year, and I just feel so sorry for my grandparents and my mother at losing someone so dear to them.
I imagine the Tame Remembers project has meant quite a lot to you then.
Yes, I have been with them when we've gone abroad, putting crosses on various graves. Even though I didn't know any of the people from those graves or their families, it still meant an awful lot to me.
Your life, your stories.
This is BBC Radio Oxford.